Anyone got a screwdriver? Yeah, I do. Record. All right. Oh, we need to zoom me up or no? We need that thing. Zoom? Oh, that's all right. Forgot to turn on the TV. See, I don't like this one. Well, that's okay. Can you hear me? All right,
Can we just check that Peter can see us and hear us?
I can see you and hear you.
oh, well, welcome, Peter.
All right.
We're glad you're here. All right, all right, well, the hour is later than we thought, so it's 7:07. Hey, guys, I'm really sorry, running a little bit behind schedule. Welcome everyone to the Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for April 7th. It's one of our regular meetings. This meeting may be attended in person by remote video or telephone conference. Zoom conferences access information was provided for the commission members, applicants, and other interested persons to participate, and was noticed on the legal ad and the agenda posted on town website. For those of you attending, I'm going to ask that you mute yourself if you're able to do so, so that we don't get any background noise. Other reminders include, first, please, every time you speak, state your name and your title for the record. Second, if you be careful not to speak over one another, so that we have a clear recording for the meeting. And for this reason, it's necessary when it comes time for the commission members to comment or ask questions about a particular agenda item or before any action is taken. And then to vote on that agenda item, our planner, Maureen Juicy, will call for the roll as it's needed. Also, this is a regular meeting. It's being recorded, and the recording is going to be posted on the town's website. And so, Maureen, can you take attendance for the commission?
John Michael O'Brien,
He's absent.
okay, Diane Joycey,
Here.
Timothy Zigmont,
Here.
Brian Rogan,
Here.
Sandra Capola.
Here.
Scott Hamel has asked to be excused.
Okay,
Chairman Bailey,
here.
Peter Zaragoza,
Here.
Andrew Manning. I do not see him.
Absent. Okay.
Steve Biella,
You're in person. Yay, because I think we need both you guys, right? Yes. So Peter, I'm gonna ask you to be seated for the meeting, and also Steve. One for John Michael O'Brien and one for Scott Hamill. All right, that's our
Okay.
business so far. All right, great. Up first is the review of the minutes for March 17th, 2022. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes, and are there any corrections or?
Make a motion to approve as written.
Okay,
Second.
motion by Ms. Jorsey, second by Mr. Zigmont. Further discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thanks, Pete. All right, so moved. Scheduling of public hearings. First up is a proposed amendment to the zoning regulations for Attorney Dennis Senevilla on behalf of the Red Lease LLC for, let me see, section 6H3 special permit uses, self-storage facilities. We have a suggested date of May 5th. All right, do we have a motion for that?
Sure, I'll make a motion to schedule that public hearing for May 5th.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Dorsey. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second, Mr. Rogan. Thank you. Further discussion on that item? And all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Peter?
Aye.
Thank you. Subdivision application of Paul Fryer Jr. for the 2-lot subdivision at 0 Heritage Drive, lot 15K, block 17. We have a suggested date also at May 5th. My husband's birthday. This is
Move
good.
to schedule for May 5th.
All right, now, Ms. Dorsey, okay. And second, Mr. Zigmont. Further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. So moved. Bond releases. We have the request of Earl Wickland for a bond reduction phase 1 at Nature's Edge. And we also have one for him at phase 2 Nature's Edge. So should we couple them or keep them separate for bond release?
I would keep them separate.
Okay, so let's talk about the first one.
If I may,
Yes.
we got the report from James Fogel, the Deputy Director of Public Works, that he's provided a revised bond form for section 1 and states the calculation is that it can be reduced from 63,756 to 29,934 based upon a review of the work that has been performed.
Okay. All right, commission?
I'll make a motion to approve release or reduction of the bond for Nature Edge Section 1 from $63,756 to $29,934.
Okay, Ms. Dorsey has the motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Capola. All right. Further discussion, Commission, any questions about this? And all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, Pete. Those opposed, so moved. And now for phase 2 of Nature's Edge. And
So the bond amount we have presently represents the 25% of the original value, which is the required amount to be maintained until release or until the market is in place long enough. So therefore, we're recommending that not be reduced.
oh, okay, so you want to hold on to the whole thing then? All right,
I'll make a motion to deny the request to reduce the bond on Nature's Edge, section 2.
okay, we have a motion by Ms. Dorsey, and do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Ms. Capola. Further discussion? And all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you, Pete. And those opposed, so moved. On to commission business, we have a list of the 2022 events, the Berlin Lions Agricultural Fair Incorporated, Attorney Joseph Dornfried. And is Mr. Dornfried with us?
Yes,
not.
this is Joe Dornford. I'm here virtually.
Okay, terrific. Well, we're virtually happy to hear you here.
Thank you.
All right. Sorry, it's been a wild week. All right, so we have a list. We've all been provided with a list of the different things. The Berlin Fair is pretty established here in town. They've come before us before looking for approval or feedback on their agenda for the year, their event calendar. Mr. Dornfried, is there anything you want to add to?
There's nothing to add. There's just 2 new events, which I think you have in your packet from the town planner. One's a Berlin High athletic booster bingo event, and the other is the class of 1977 of Berlin High. We've had class reunions in the past, but because we had to drop them for 2 years because of the pandemic, we had to bring them back on as something new.
Okay, well, that's great, because I remember going to one of those events, reunion there, and we had a blast, so.
You remember
Yes, I do
it to the
remember.
end, to the end of the night?
No, I don't think I did that. Hey, I'm old, I wanted to go home, I was tired. 8:30 bedtime. Maureen, do we have anything we want to add, or before I go to the commission to see if there's any comments?
No, there were comments from the, as the standard comments from the health district that food vendor permits are required and any permits for bit and electrical and all that that is needed by the building department to be taken out as usual. Fire protection from the fire marshal. Not only he mentioned specifically for the demolition derby, but for any events that needed that the applicants would continue to work with the building department and fire marshal's office and health district to obtain necessary permits for any events.
All right, as far as traffic control or any police or whatever, it seemed going through, we were okay.
As presented and supplied to the police department, we got no comment back from them, so that must be acceptable to them.
All right, let me just ask you this, and just because this is something that is a reoccurring event at the fairgrounds, and I know that they, the Lions Club are great folks to have in town. We're really proud to have them here. Is this something that could be handled in-house as opposed to coming before the commission? Is this?
Here?
Yeah,
So the wording of the regulations does allude to the fact that if they are ongoing events that aren't changing and don't have over 250 people, that and any new events that the staff could handle administratively. I'd rather look at the wording again. I looked at it quickly and said, why does it come to commission? Looks like it doesn't need to. Well, it always has, so I'm not gonna fuss with it and then search back and see if there was a determination made at some point as to why it comes to the commission.
I know
The regulation does specifically say that if any new events or any events that haven't happened in 2 years do have to come. to
Okay,
the
so
commission.
maybe this is sort of like the 2 years.
So I think it's most likely that in my experience, there's always been at least one new event, so why not come and just vet
Yeah.
the entire item? If it is
Okay.
over 250 people for a new event, it does need a public hearing.
Okay, all right, yeah, I'm
I'll
just,
look at that, I'll give you an answer.
I was just trying, not that we don't want, Attorney Dornfree here. It's just I'm trying to, make it, streamline it a little bit, and if it can be handled administratively, it would be nice. I mean, we have reoccurring events like the strawberry thing over at the church, the Congregational Church, and it would just kind of help those people through the process too, I think. But if that's something we can do, that's great, but if we're limited because of the attendance, then, I mean, we'll just have to visit with Attorney Dornfree every year. All right,
Or change the regulation.
or change the regulation, that's true. All
I'll
right,
look at that, ready?
yeah, okay. So, Tim, did you have any comment? No, okay. Anything from you, Mr. Zaragoza on Zoom?
None.
Okay, terrific. So,
Make a motion to approve.
motion to approve by Mr. Zigma. Do we have a second? With staff comments? Are you amending it? Okay, thank you. Good catch, guys. Thanks.
Staff always have comments.
Oh, jeez. All right, so we have a motion with staff comments to approve by Mr. Zigma. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second, Ms. Jorsey. Further discussion? Then all those in favor?
Aye.
Those
Aye.
opposed? Okay, terrific. Thank you, Attorney Dornfree.
Oh, thank you for your time.
You're all set. All right, going on to the public hearings. Well, the first item we have, this is, do you have a call for public hearings that
We
you
do
have to
have a
read?
call, so both items have been postponed, so,
To,
Oh,
to call.
yeah,
right,
I'll one
yeah.
that's on the agenda that we're hearing is.
All right, so you don't have to read it. You get off the hook today? All right, yeah, okay.
So Roman numerals for me.
I
Thank you.
might suggest that in order to, well, you'll be postponing that.
Okay, so
Do you want
for,
me to explain that, or are you good? You got it. I explained it.
well, basically, we, the first item was the zone change application of 337 Berlin LLC to amend the zoning map. This was asked to be postponed by the applicant, so we will not be putting that to public hearing. That was item A. Now, also, just for anyone who's, and I'm gonna kind of leapfrog to the bottom. For those who may be interested, the special permit site plan application for Shuttle Meadow Development LLC for the multifamily development at 309 Main Street, East Berlin, that's also been requested to be postponed. Is that correct, Maureen?
Yes.
Okay, so both of those are going to be postponed. Do we have dates for that, or are they open at this point? We're just postponed.
They both asked to be postponed to the next meeting.
That's
That's
April
April
21st.
21st. And they both supplied extension time to get to that date.
Okay, so April 21st is when we'll be scheduled. All right, so we don't need any motions or anything because of the postponing. So let's delve right into our item B, which is the special permit site plan application of the Preserve MC LLC for 76 residential units in 48 buildings and 28 single-family units at Lot 1, 51 Grand Acre. Okay, so with us we have Attorney Sullivan. And I see Mr. Goldberg's here. Okay, all right, the floor is yours.
Good evening again. Attorney Timothy Sullivan on behalf of the applicant, Preserve SM LLC. Here tonight on behalf of the applicant is Laurel Kopacki, Joseph Kopacki, and Bart Bove. As discussed at the previous public hearings, the proposed cluster housing development off West Lane is adjacent to Ragged Mountain. The property is located in the PR2 zone, which allows this higher density development. There's 229 total acres, as 51 Rand Deckers Lane. The project consists of 110 acres. 19 of those acres are supposed to be deeded to the Berlin Land Trust. 56 will be under conservation easement, and 20 will be for the residential development. 76 units in total, combination of single, multifamily development, single and multifamily development. Part B.
Attorney Sullivan, can I just ask if you can get, I think you try to drag that microphone over a little bit, because
Okay, mic drop.
I don't know, is it on? Yeah, it's on.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's just, I could hear you, but I really have to, I just want to make sure it comes in the record, but thank you, go ahead.
That's. Anyways, Bart Boves, the engineer, Scott Heskett, the traffic engineer, and Chris Hill, the architectural, the architect. All have previously testified, Bart is here tonight. At the last public hearing on March 17th, Bart started to review Mike Ahern, the town engineer's comments. Since that time, he's made some subsequent revisions to the plans. He submitted these plans. He's revised the environmental impact analysis, and he's formally responded to Mike Ahern's comments. Bart is here tonight to review these changes and review his responses to Mike Ahern. Concerning item number 11, which was Mike Ahern's March 3rd comment memorandum. The traffic engineer, Scott Heskett, has already reached out to Mike Ahern, and we hope to have a formal response in the next couple of days to his traffic concerns. Like I said, Bart will be reviewing the changes in the responses. Just some quick housekeeping, and Maria and I had some conversation just prior to the meeting. Some of the, most of these I think have been submitted, but I just want to make sure just to do some housekeeping on first of water and sewer. That we have a letter from the DEP, which expands the public sewer system with Kennington Fire District. We have a letter on a proposed permit agreement from the Kennington Fire District to provide sewer and water. There's an agreement which has been executed by the Kennington Fire District and the Water Control Commission, which allows the Kennington Fire District to provide public water within the Water Control Commission's exclusive service area. And then we have the Glen Land Trust letter where they agree to take the property that's being proposed to be deeded to them, including the conservation easement. And we also have the proposed conservation easement. I will, would you prefer I just submit these in a e-file, or I guess give you here tonight?
We have all of them,
You
they've
have
all
all of
already
them?
been submitted, I
I
believe.
think most of this, the agreement between Water Control and Kensington Fire District is now signed by the
It is,
Kensington Fire District. So two
that
of the
will
three
be-
parties, only the preserve needs to sign it. I can have that signed out so that. You have all the e-file. Regarding the 824, I spoke with Maureen about that earlier tonight. That will be, it's my understanding that will be submitted to the town council for their April 19th meeting. So we can hopefully have some resolution on that. Finally, the public hearing will not be closed this evening because of the 824. We have the traffic response. I think we're still waiting for Mike Ahern to formally respond to Bart's revised submissions. So we will need to consent through the April 21st public hearing, which we do, to keep the public hearing open through the April 21st date. So at this time, I'll ask Bart to just review some of his changes and some of his comments that he had on Mike Ahern's comments.
Bart Bove from H.E. Cole & Son. Yeah, Mike had sent or gave us comments like the day before, a couple hours before the other meeting. So what I did is I did an immediate response to it. And then, as you know, we're all blessed with an extra week between meetings. So 2 weeks ago, I responded to Mike, a little more detail on his comments that he made on his initial batch. Most of them were technical in nature, invert grades stuff. I submitted, which you should have, a revised set of plans which have all those changes. Mike also wanted to see drainage calculations. I finally got those pulled together, got those done earlier this week. He has yet to give me comments on that. The one thing Mike did note in his comments, there was a bunch of questions. We should expound the environmental assessments to include some of the wetland stuff. I don't think what Mike understood was the environmental assessment for the planning and zoning is not so much an environmentally sensitive wetlands type review, but more of a general diverse site, so in case we're losing a historic movie theater or something like that, as opposed to a fern or a plant that's taking care of the wetlands. So I pointed that out in the Mike's comments. Mike did respond to me, he didn't have any problem, he wanted me clarification on one point. And as Tim mentioned, the traffic engineer needs to have a formal written response to his comment. But everything should be submitted and everything should be together. And we'll look forward to meeting with staff within the next week and respond to any other items they may need for the next public hearing.
Yes,
So I talked to the town engineer today as well, and one of the things he asked that I reiterate is that a copy of the corrective action plan that was sent to Deep, he'd like to get a copy of that. He didn't find that he got that.
Okay, we'll make sure.
So he's like that as well, and he did talk to the traffic, or he messages with the traffic engineer today, and he's still expecting stuff to come in. He hasn't gotten that yet, so we'll try to make a package
yeah,
of response as opposed to piecemeal.
okay, terrific.
So I did confirm that.
All right, so we're still pushing forward with the project. And it looks like we're gonna be keeping the public hearing open. Any questions at this point from the commission? All right. Okay, yep. Is there anyone here in the Zoom land, virtual land, that would like to comment on this project as we're still in the public hearing? Okay, hearing none. All righty, terrific. So it looks like we're progressing and we're making headway here.
Finish line is in sight.
Huh?
The finish line is in sight.
All right. Terrific, okay. So do we have a motion then from the commission? All righty. And so we have a motion to continue. Do we have a second? Second by Ms. Jorsey. The motion belongs to Mr. Rowan, by the way. And further discussion from the commission, and all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, Pete. And those opposed? So moved. Okay, and then we move into old business, and the only item was the one we just entertained. And so we have a motion on the old business. We have a motion to continue. Do we need to, we just moved it? Okay, so I don't have to revisit the old business? Okay. So believe it or not, we're on to staff comments. And I guess we have, whoa, we started late. We have, wait, Chris Archer's here, so we have EDC matters.
There you go, delay.
All right, there it goes. I'm just some,
There we are,
whoa,
the newspaper guy.
all right.
Good evening, everyone. Been approached by a group who is in the assisted living world. We presently do not have any assisted living in town. In fact, our zoning regulations kind of dance around assisted living, but don't actually say assisted living. They're interested in doing a facility in town. They're looking at the parcel behind the CVS on Burlington Turnpike. I think the last that we knew was kind of a big hole. It's been there for about 25 years.
Mhm.
This group has done developments in about 7 different communities. They have broken ground in a facility in Bristol. They're doing one in Naugatuck. They're interested in Brisbane, Berlin as well. The nice thing too, it is a model that is very different. It's a model that is about half the cost of most facilities, which is $8,000 to $12,000 a month, excuse me. It's actually roommates. So 2 people each have their own bedroom with a shared common area, kitchenette, living room, etc. They kind of call it the Hampton Inn of assisted living. So just coming to the commission just to kind of mention to you that they are interested, just to kind of get your vibe on it. My thoughts are, and Economic Development Commission's thoughts are, is it's a service we don't seem to have at the moment. We have a continuum. People love to be in Berlin most of their lives. It looks like it is going to be probably a good size taxpayer and not a lot of traffic, probably 50 to 75 employees, and just wanted to talk to this commission, kind of get your thoughts on it, because we don't currently have it. in the zone and not in the zoning book, just to kind of get your feel for it.
So I saw 100 years ago that the, is it Sage Ridge? What's the name of it?
Sage Ridge, yeah. The one on-
Behind the Berlin Fire Department. I thought that was approved as an assisted living facility.
I thought that is assisted living. Sage Ridge.
Maybe we
Behind the-
just don't know that that's how it operates.
For Worthington.
That may just be us not having that background.
Oh,
Do you know?
If I remember. coming
I do not
before
know,
the
it's before me, I don't know, I mean, we've not found those exact verbs in there.
Yeah.
And we may have it in there, but I mean, regardless, we would have to add language into this particular zone, it's the PSB zone. This is really the last undeveloped parcel of the PSB zone area. Mr. Orsini essentially has snapped up everything else on that side,
Yeah,
which is good.
I'm surprised he didn't take that.
The issue with that parcel is, one, it's very challenging because it's gonna have to have shared access through an easement out to Deming Road. It is amazingly expensive. They're asking 600,000 an acre. The market is between 275 and 325,000 an acre right now on recent sales. The gentleman is out in the Midwest and doesn't really know much of anything about Berlin. He collects a check from CBS and hasn't really moved the number in a long time.
Yeah.
The good news about this group is, again, I went to the groundbreaking in Bristol. I got to see them and the principals. Their actual bank is Thomas and Savings Bank. I think the reason that's important is, one, it's not a big bank. They're very conservative. They actually are the bank that is doing the financing for our $18 million mixed-use project by the train station. So I just, again, whatever you take from that, I think it's important to know. They've chosen our community. I think it's a good use for a property that, and I ran the numbers for economic development. I want to say it was retail, office, medical office, car wash, and them. And I want to say the taxes for this were maybe $250,000, the next closest is about 70,000, and down from there. So I mean, it really brings a lot to the community.
All right, just for
please.
clarification with the assisted living, these are people that are basically, they're on their own, they're independent, and they're movable, or,
Yes.
I mean, they drive. I'm trying to think of the words, but in other words, but they only just need maybe perhaps a common area where they may have a meal or something prepared, or they may purchase a meal. Is that's what like, or are they cooking, or?
May-
So my experience with assisted living is that they have the support services that may be necessary as for an individual who can't necessarily provide everything for themselves. Most of the units I toured often have a kitchenette, not a full kitchen. They may not be able to be trusted with a stove, but yet they have a microwave. Some places may have stoves. They may have different varying apartments as well, where somebody may start with one that has a stove. They're usually efficiency or small one bedroom apartment-ish units. They usually have nursing staff on duty and also provide assistance for medications
Yeah,
and staff overseeing all of that. And then activities, they usually have a physical, not physical therapist. Well, I guess it is a type of physical therapist, not physical therapist, recreational therapist.
Yeah.
They have a recreational therapist that has the little, dance in the pool or activities so that the people stay active.
yeah,
Where they might otherwise be isolated in their own homes and or not able to completely care for themselves, but not the level of care required for a nursing home.
yeah, and my understanding is once they get to that level where they need much more personalized care, that they're actually is no longer eligible for assisted living.
Correct.
Then they would have to move on to.
Many, I don't wanna say most because I don't know the statistics, but I think it is most, have
Memory care?
memory care.
Memory
Okay,
care.
so I
Okay.
got a concussion in December, okay? And really, I was amazing the words I have lost in the last 3 months.
Yeah,
But a memory care unit is almost universal with that.
all right.
And that is a lockdown unit.
Well,
You wanna send me?
Waiting
And
list,
the only-
waiting list.
The only other point that would concern me is that I know that Deming Road, that whole Episcopal Road, I mean, my concerns with the Orsini project, I've made that note on the record with the traffic. And I'm not sure how this is gonna play into, but we may have to be creative and do something with that. That whole intersection there, I'm not sure what we're gonna be able to do, but, I mean, but as far as the project goes, I mean, it's an interesting concept. I think I'd like to see more, of course, in being respectful of the Rossini and the Daddio project and the field. I would have to see what this thing looks like.
Okay, I
'cause it's gonna
can
be
bring you
long.
something, it was more floating the concept. From
Yeah.
my understanding too, is their average age is around 78 to 82, so the amount of drivers is very limited.
Yeah.
I think they're really looking at folks that are on the other later end.
Yeah.
A lot of people with loved ones, loved ones will come in, take them out to eat, et cetera. So I don't think it's gonna be, I think the majority of the traffic is gonna be the 50 to 60 staff members more than
Yeah.
anything else. And one of the things that they were talking about was just to have access through Deming, to have no access by Episcopal, knowing that the issues that exist on Episcopal with traffic, et cetera. Again, not that that makes it much better,
Yeah.
but not having Episcopal as part of the mix makes it a little bit easier to stomach.
Yeah. Would that play into affordability at all, those units?
I know we had at least one discussion, I haven't gone to all the affordable housing plan
Yeah,
meetings, but I know we had at least one discussion as to how assisted living may or may not qualify to count towards housing and or getting a portion of the units to
It
count.
doesn't count for
And
one,
we
it should
may
come
be-
from the other.
We may need guidance, and that may be something that we're looking
Yeah.
at throughout the state on whether or not
Yeah, I know.
that's a
Sage,
possibility.
Sage Ridge is
Assisted living.
It's safe.
and we also had a proposal on Allen Street in Grove.
Sage Pond Place.
Yes.
I just,
Down there for a big assisted living down there.
All right, well, I mean, what's the consensus of it? Do we want to entertain looking at this type of project over that?
Well, I just, my opinion is the same as yours. The first thing that comes to mind for me is the challenge of that intersection.
Yeah.
And
They
the
didn't put a
difficulty
roundabout in
that,
there, so.
older drivers will have getting out of that driveway to Deming Road. It just seems like an accident waiting to happen.
Yeah.
But I'm open to it.
Okay,
Okay.
one nice thing is the town ended up getting $3.5 million from Capital Region Council of Governments. Myself, Jim Mahoney, and Mike Hearn ended up working to get the money as a grant. And so they're gonna be redoing Porter's Pass, Christian Lane, Deming down to the Turnpike. That's gonna include some improvements, including, I believe, a right turn only lane going onto the turnpike. So nice thing to, not that it solves all problems, but it's going to free it up to actually have 3 lanes instead of the 2. So they are gonna look at that and try to do some traffic things when they do the reconstruction. But yes, I think that's definitely important to take a look at.
Are they gonna put a roundabout at Porter's Pass?
I have no idea.
I think that'd be, that would be a roundabout. at
We're
Porter's
not
Pass.
Massachusetts.
No, that should be.
I
It's
guess
better
there
than a traffic light, everyone runs
was
it.
discussion of a roundabout at Episcopal Road. And that is not in the plans, but a left turn lane onto Episcopal from Deming Road is.
I can see having around.
So there'll be a bypass there.
If they're
But
assisted
this is
living,
all
they're not gonna run up
over
those
there,
banks.
too close to-
Don't have to worry about
Oh,
travel.
Porter's
walking.
Pass. I think that would improve it. Yeah, right at Kensington.
We're gonna have to climb up those banks. What was that supposed to be?
But that's what
The
the
Dale
problem
Evans
is, because
restaurant. Bob
Bob
Evans.
Evans
Bob
restaurant.
Evans restaurant was supposed to be there.
Oh,
So
all right.
would you like me to bring you a concept of what it would look like? What are we thinking kind of next steps at this point? Because I'd like to bring you more information for comfort level, because we would need to essentially have them get the property under control, work on some language, adding to the regs, et cetera. So I just want to get some direction from you if I could.
Yeah, of course you can. Go
That's
for it.
owners the
I
same
think
as
some of the
the
things that would
property
be
next
helpful
door.
to know, like
how many units, how many people are thinking
The same guy that owns the CVS.
Mhm.
I
think
if they have
Developer
any
request.
statistics at all on possibly how many of their residents might have a car or normally drive.
This is different.
You know, if they say they don't allow it, then that's a whole different
Access
issue, then we're dealing with the employees. So I think those are kind of some of the key things to take a look at.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? I apologize, I missed that.
Kim?
Now, if they can give us an idea of maybe how many units, how many residents they think that they would be housing there, as well as if they have any statistics as far as how many of their residents might have a car or drive. There's some facilities, you know, assisted living facilities that don't allow their residents to have a car. So that might mitigate some of the issues we have, but if they have any of that information, that would be great.
I guess my only concern about it would be that if it doesn't work out for them, they just decide to turn it to apartments.
Apartments are not currently allowed in the zone. So someone would have to come in and actually get apartments approved in the zone. You're not allow any apartments without that 10-acre minimum, which that does not have.
Assisted living still gotta get health approval for a number of beds.
Yeah, they have to go through the Department of Public Health and
The Department of Public Health, because it's a facility, so they gotta get that.
Can I use your microphone, Tim?
And prove a need for it.
Yeah, no, because the record, and it's not, I mean, Peter Zaragoza was online, and I don't know if you can hear your comments.
I can hear you, Tim.
Yeah, and I didn't know if he had any comments, so Peter, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I mean, I think the concept of an assisted living home is great, especially for that area. I think it'll be a service utilized by the residents. I do agree with everyone there that the traffic is certainly a concern in the intersection. However, having previously worked at a assisted living home, many of the residents do not travel independently in their vehicles. And like Chris pointed out, it's going to be limited to shift workers coming and going for the majority. To Chris, I would just be curious to know what level of medical care will be at that assisted living home. Not medical care necessarily, but I'm just curious as to the level of nursing care that'll be provided, because I know that this is an affordable assisted living facility, and I'm just curious as to how robust their assistance, so to speak, will be.
I will ask that question.
Okay.
I think for me, my preference would be just, if it were possible, I would prefer to see the restaurant or a restaurant as originally proposed. But I think that particular site, that area, there's not adequate services with water, I think. There was a while back that Doogies or
Yeah, with that hot dog place.
wanted to be on the opposite.
Yeah,
corner.
So why by the military thing?
There's an issue with the services there, which is why that area isn't desirable for development to a restaurant.
And the concern would be fivefold with the traffic if a restaurant was there as well, because of the number.
Yeah.
I believe in the past, there was a Texas Roadhouse that was considering it, and it ended up not making it through the process higher ups. So it has been looked at this point. My hope would be is potentially if something can happen, maybe it'll happen with a zone change across the street, which again is being pursued on the other corner. Because again, if it goes according to what they're talking about, we're probably looking at maybe 7 acres of land, which will still be there for development. I would hope that the developer would be looking at food as an option, because I think definitely we could use something around over there.
Speaking of food, and going off topic, I would love a good barbecue place.
Right? Yeah.
Well,
we digress. I can see who's hungry.
to stay on that topic for a moment, I am doing windshield tours of Berlin. So 45 minutes, we start at Town Hall, go all the way back to Town Hall. I'm highlighting what has happened, what's been approved, opportunities, etc. On the bottom of my list, it says we need seafood, barbecue, steak, sit-down Chinese, and barbecue. So I have met with architects, engineers, real estate people. Going to be taking around the newest member of the Board of Finance, and I am more than happy to do that with anyone here on this board, because I want people to know what's out there, to see what's happening. The good news is I am trying everything humanly possible. I actually came from a chamber gathering in the Middlesex Chamber because I'm trying to connect with anybody that knows anybody on Main Street that might be interested in opening a restaurant.
Yeah.
Because Red Fox has worked here well, so I'm hoping.
Yeah.
So it is very much in my eye, in a sense.
A question, this is maybe going off point a little bit, but from the town council meeting that was just happening this past Tuesday, there was an application for a wedding event at Pistol Creek. Somebody is coming and asking, could they rent out the facility? And I think we had talked about this some time ago, is that it would be really nice, and I don't know if the town has to do the investment or you get some sort of restaurant chain in there. But it would be really, really nice if we could utilize that building for community events for hire. In other words, I know they do this down in Saybrook with the pavilion, which is on the ocean. It used to be where the old clam bar used to be. And what they do is they have a facility and they have a full kitchen and they have the tables and the chairs and the whole thing. You put a deposit down. You get into the building at 8 o'clock in the morning or whatever time, so you can set up your tables, put your decorations up and everything. You have the place until the event is over, you clean up, and you basically call them and say, I'm leaving now, and we're good to go. They come in and inspect it to make sure everything is the way it was, and then you get your deposit back. So you pay a deposit and then you pay a rental. And but I was thinking it would be great if I would love to have that thing come back as a full restaurant, because I remember it when it was, and it was terrific. Because you could go there, you could have dinner, you had the outside patio that's covered. And it's in the back, and so they had dancing out, dancing in that, and it was just great. And that would be a home run for people for birthdays, anniversaries, weddings, everything.
I pursued this probably 3 or 4 years ago. I can double check it again with Kevin Delaney, our finance director.
Yeah.
The conversation with the town's bond attorney was if a for-profit entity is using it, that we put our bonds and that we got tax exempt into possible issue. We have to pay them back. And that was included as part of the bond package with the land across the street and another bond. So essentially could put $5 or $12 million in bonds that we'd have to pay back. Is it still true? I don't know,
Yeah.
but that was the issue, because we use tax-free municipal bonds, that a for-profit entity could not use it. Could we find a way around that? Maybe.
But could the town own it?
particular building was a separate entity than the golf course itself, where the bonds were placed for.
I believe the bond was for the entire thing.
Yeah, because I was thinking if the town owned it, as we do now, all we'd be doing is making the investment, putting the kitchen back in place and the refrigerators back in place and stuff, and the dishwasher or whatever, but we would be making the initial investment, but then just renting it out but it would be for rent more for the community first. In other words, you have to be a citizen of Berlin in order to rent it and to take it out in your name. And that's what they do down in Saybrook. And
I
it works
agree.
great.
I agree completely. And ironically enough, the group that catered tonight's event in Berlin, David Allen Caterers, I'm sure would fall all over themselves to work with us on that. So I can pursue it with Kevin Delaney again. I mean,
I would.
I think it's been an underutilized asset for the 7 years I've been here.
Yeah.
And again, I don't think it's a big moneymaker, but the longer we let a commercial building sit there, Mother Nature
Yes.
is not good to
That's-
commercial
And
buildings.
that's my thing, is
And
that.
at least that way, if we are at least covering our bases and do a couple, I mean, this, not to do a lot, but the Berlin Fairgrounds hold events, and I think it's utilized to some degree.
Yeah,
This facility, I think we definitely could, but again, I can talk to Kevin.
that it's a top shelf facility. It'd be a shame if it all just went to ruin, and it's going to, because we're letting it sit there too long without people living in there, so to speak.
Excuse me.
All right,
Yeah.
Mr. Zerbo. Do you have
Yeah.
any comments?
I
Yes.
sure do. I couldn't agree more with the discussion surrounding the facility at Pistol Creek. I know in some municipality, well, in another state, in a county government form, but they typically take facilities like that, either on municipal or county government property, and use them for wedding venues, but limit it to the option of having a wedding or event there, and you can bring in your own catering, or the municipality will limit and select caterers within the municipality itself that need to be utilized there. The Pistol Creek facility, there already is a way to sign up and use the building through the town and the Parks and Rec, but it's currently very prohibitive, and it's only limited to groups and nonprofits, and you know, the average person can't do it. So I agree with your point, Joan, that it needs to be utilized and it needs to be prioritized for residents. And I'm
Yeah.
just thinking if that might be a possible way to kind of skirt that tax bond issue by not necessarily making it for profit, but allowing people to use it and, you know, cater it themselves or bring in caterers or whatever.
Yeah, and as far as the bar goes or whatever, they bring in their own, they set up their own bar. You know, they bring in their ice, they put it in the freezer and they.
Exactly.
And bartender and stuff, yeah. I think it would be a great thing. But anyway, okay. What else do, so, I mean, I think you're getting some positive feedback on your assisted living. We're very interested in the concept, so let's see where we go from there.
I
And,
will get some questions answered. I will see if I can get a concept for you, and at an upcoming meeting, if I have some answers and hopefully can give you a feeling of comfort, I can then help them move along.
yeah,
But I am, initially, I was hesitant, but now that I've seen what they're doing, the acceptance they've gotten, because I literally sat down with the mayor of Naugatuck Economic Development in Bristol, because this is kind of a new concept.
and make sure that you express to them that I only want a really handsome, really beautiful building.
That's a
I
given.
don't want- Yeah, it's a given.
That's a given.
It has to be.
Limited height, and it needs to look good.
Land, oh, there's
Landscape.
tons of landscape and trees and little parks, someplace for folks to sit, smoke their cigarettes.
We actually, in our conversations.
With two developers this week, and
Yeah,
those
okay.
were primary points, which is
All right.
why I'm kind of giving.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You need to be aware, it's
They
gotta
have
look
to
good,
be.
it's gotta look good, and if you have to hide anything, make sure you have stuff that's not gonna die soon.
All right, okay,
I
now,
just, a point of clarification, I looked up Sage Pond Place, I'm not seeing as with its amenities that it offers any nursing care or assisted care in their list of amenities.
oh,
But I don't know, perhaps they do, it is an over fifty-five
Yes,
apartments. And it was
Almost.
CFA funded, they have, but it doesn't, it says community room, doesn't say dining hall or anything like that. But I do think Worthington Manor is out in East Berlin.
Yeah,
That
it
one's
is, that is.
assisted living.
Yeah, I just,
It
I remember
popped
that
in.
in, okay, well.
So I just wanted to
Okay, no, it's
clarify those two.
All right, anything else for us, Chris, that you have on the pipeline?
That's it right now. Something else that's
That's not
coming up
enough.
in May with the self-storage, but we can take that on when it comes to it. It's a, there's been a lot of interest in that with the approval of the 300+ housing apartments. We are apparently, from what I've been told by a couple of people, very underserved when it comes to self-storage. So I think it's figuring out if it's something we want to do, having it be something that fits. I know the first thing I've said to every single one of them is you better not have a garage door facing the turnpike, or don't even come to the PNC. And similar, so they, understand, but we'll take that as it comes, but there's been a couple different groups. Economic Development Commission had a group looking to come in to do a trucking terminal, which would be 300 feet long by 80 feet wide, 250 truck trips a day. And they voted it down 7-0, didn't think it was a fit in the zone because any industrial zone is going to be near residential, so that those folks went away. So again, I'm trying to do that when I can.
Yeah.
And most developers are happy with a quick no.
Okay.
And they move on to other places, so we're trying to do what we can with it. We've had a lot of folks coming in, different ideas and concepts. We may come in something soon on a something potentially on the Chamberlain Highway side of town. We've got some things that are happening potentially, talking to a couple different site engineers to be determined whether they become reality, but the good news is there's a lot of activity. If you get a chance, if you're driving down Christian Lane, you can't see it very well, but you can see there's like a 30-foot high building that the Merger Road Recycling folks are putting up with that $25 million piece of machinery. So they're getting close to completion on theirs, which is great. So I think it's nice because there's a lot of earth moving equipment around town. There's a lot of construction vehicles, which is great. And I'm very excited for where we are. I think there's a lot of great things. When you look at, my best example would be Priority Electric. You have Berlin families that are moving their businesses back to Berlin or to Berlin when they were never in Berlin. I think that may happen again. That makes me very happy because I think that shows that what this commission, myself, other commissions are doing is in a direction that the community really likes and is appreciative.
Okay, terrific. Well, job's well done, and we'll look forward to some more exciting ideas. All righty, okay, and good, okay, you're up.
Planner has stuff.
Planner has done.
Thanks, Chris.
Good night, thank you.
All right, good night, Chris, thanks for coming.
Good night, thanks. You know where the best barbecue in town is.
So
Want to
this,
open the restaurant?
the first thing I have is an inquiry from Earl Wickland with regard to Stick Village. So I'm just trying to zoom into it on Webster Square Road where is everyone familiar? Everyone remembers Stick Village. Let me share this screen so Peter knows what we're looking at. And the other people online. He has approval to build 2 more buildings right here. If you're all familiar, you're on Webster Square Road. It's a little villagey complex of 5 buildings currently. Buildings 2 and 3 are attached here. Building 1, 2, 3, and then he has this building. These last 2 buildings, he's asking if he has to come back, if he combines those buildings to just be 1 building, or if that's a modification that can be handled by staff. My understanding is that when the buildings that were 2 and 3 were combined and became 1 building, that was handled administratively. I couldn't find I couldn't find much written documentation to unilaterally make the discussion, the decision, and said, I'm asking permission, I'm not making that decision, whether it has to come back.
Okay, so he already has it planned, he already has it approved for 2 and 3. I mean, he has it approved for 2 separate buildings, now he just wants to combine them 2.
And make
One building. Does that increase the buffer on either side of the, or the building is just gonna, is it gonna be the equal footprint of,
I think the total number of square feet will be reduced. So it shows a 3,000 square foot building and a 2,160 square foot building, and now he's proposing 4,320.
So he's
we did
going-
all that the other day as far as adding up, and now I don't remember the numbers.
so he's actually he's reducing it. Okay, that's,
I'm comfortable
I would
with
think.
handling it.
Okay.
Amount of square footage.
All right, we'll make sure that the landscaping and building materials are already subject to staff review as far as building materials went in the original approval. Of course, Helen was your planner then. And and landscaping, will make sure that that gets adjusted around so that we're not making gaps.
Pretty
But
good,
probably easier to put it around 1 building than 2, that's 1 less side you have to
Well,
landscape,
yeah.
right?
And mow.
Unless sidewalk have to shovel.
There you go. Commission, I think administratively, okay, Peter, administratively. Peter Zaragoza just asking for your straw poll administratively, well, we can, let Maureen just go ahead and work with, Mr. Wickliffe.
Yeah, I don't have any issue with that.
Okay, terrific, thank you for your input. All right.
And then the other thing I wanted to make sure, well, actually two things. So one is some of you, particularly those that live off the Chamberlain Highway, may have noticed Home Garage has done some more work. I have talked to a couple of the applicants, or the couple of interested parties in reopening the garage there. I believe I'll be getting an application for the zoning board of appeals. I did point out to them that it appeared as though in their really good job clearing the property and cleaning it up, they may have expanded the impervious surface or the gravel parking area, and that we certainly still needed the green border around the extent of the property. And I've now brought up some pictures that I haven't shared with them yet, but I brought up some pictures of where grass was originally. There really wasn't any buffer plantings ever. I think it pre-existed landscaping plans. But we'll be working with the owner of the property and or any applicants who may have. But they'd be going to zoning board of appeals, just because probably would not be coming here unless they're making some substantial site improvements. Pretty much planning to restore it.
That needs to be a coffee shop.
You know, I have pointed out
In my, a Dunkin' Donuts.
Yeah.
I have pointed out that while it is a non-conforming use as a garage, which would, you know, generally be able to be continued, although it does need zoning board of appeals approval, that a change of a non-conforming use to a less objectionable one is also a viable option. And that's through the zoning board of appeals as well. And I have pointed that out to them, that they're not stuck with the garage, that they, if that's the way the market is, you know, that they do have other options. So we'll see the owner. I haven't talked a lot with the owners. It's mostly reaching out to
People on the
others.
hill are gonna be upset.
Need that Dunkin' Donut
You were
kiosk.
talking about the old garage. Yeah. Swap box.
I'll have the egg and cheese wraps that you produce.
And the last
Well, you
item,
have to put it through the drive-through. People don't like to get out of the car anymore.
no,
No.
and we have had a very large number of inquiries with regards to drive-throughs.
Oh,
Those are and shrinking buildings and larger drive-throughs. So I would not be surprised if someone may come in with them, you know, in the next year or two at least, with a change to our language, because we do call drive-throughs accessory and subordinate to the restaurant or the primary use, but there are some of these facilities that are changing their business model to be just a drive-through.
Yeah.
And it's just reminiscent to me of the place you used to drop off your film. That's what I think of every time somebody says it. I'm driving up to drop off film at that film.
Right?
Photo hop.
Oh, my God.
So,
And what else do you have for us?
so then the only other thing I have
I was
is
trying to get
just
you guys home early.
public awareness that the affordable housing plan, for anybody who wasn't on the town council meeting the other night, the town council has scheduled a public hearing for the affordable housing plan on May 17th. And you all got the affordable housing plan draft in your package. I think you got the basic cover. We do have a photographed cover with pictures of facilities and stuff there, or apartments that will be put on the cover. It'll be dressed up a little bit for once it's posted on the website. The draft plan that's going to public hearing should be posted on the website by next Wednesday.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw the discussion that happened between Mr. Miller and the council. And what I came away with, what I did, and I haven't looked at the things that really drives home the need for more senior housing. You know, the active adults 55 and older, because our demographics for the town, so we have a lot of older generation, and they're not moving, they're staying here in Berlin. And so there's this need for more of that. And, you know, making it affordable for them. I mean, how do you make it affordable? I don't know, unless they own the condos or something. Anyway, that was just one thing that popped off the page for me when I was listening. But anyway.
It popped off the page when we saw the statistics as well.
No little
One of the
hammer.
things that was definitely shown and affordable. It's
Yeah.
not high end, but something that is.
Not necessarily high end, but something just. like
And that
regular
then
home store.
leaves their homes available for the next generation to move into, because one of the items that has come up in a number of the public awareness meetings was that they don't have anywhere to go, which means that
They
they're
don't-
locking up rooms in their house because they want to stay there.
They want
I
to
can't go
say.
anywhere, if I can't go someplace else in Berlin, I'm gonna stay in Berlin, but I'm closing off half my house and living in 3 rooms. And that house is not available.
Yeah, I mean, you know, so I mean, it's sort of a catch-22, but it was kind of nice to know that, you know, the seniors are the ones that want to stay. So, anyway, anything else, Maureen?
That's, I believe, all I have. I hope I know that's all I have today.
Okay, that's it for today.
In a whirlwind week.
Okay.
Making the motion to adjourn.
Yeah, motion to adjourn by Mr. Zigmont and a second by Steve Biella. For the record, it's 8:08 in the evening. Holy God.
Before I gotta drive.
All right, so motion to adjourn. That's it.
Girls, they're flying somewhere. I don't know where they're flying.
You know,
Yeah.